Having now made our way all the way down the ICW and around Florida, it was time to start to head west. This was pretty exciting for us. Once again, the opportunity to see a different flavour of culture and music and food, and of course the sights to be seen and the geography. There was a few things we hadn't really expected. Pensacola sits on the top west edge of Florida. It sits pretty well right on the timeline. I think if you cross Pensacola, or at least we presume, over towards Mississippi and Alabama, it's somewhere around there that the time changes. We were far from aware of this until several days later when we realised that somewhere along the line our time had changed by an hour. This was daylight saving as well, and to add, it was also the change into summer. Somewhat confusing. Pensacola was one of those towns that we needed to go and have a look at. It was an introduction to music, to sights, to a change in geography, and certainly a change in culture. So we hopped on the bike, parked the RV up, and went for a ride. When we came to a town and we knew we wanted to have a look at it, the general plan was to aim for downtown. Now, when I arrived in America, I had absolutely no idea what downtown was, but you'll soon find out that downtown means the city centre. And generally, if there's a historic area within those towns or cities, that's the place that we wanted to head. And interestingly enough, 9 times out of 10, we found ourselves at a bar. In Pensacola, this was no ordinary bar. This was an amazing bar. This was a bar that had multiple bars and multiple reasons to have a beer. Appropriately, we got there in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, so it certainly was not busy, but it had a vibrance about this place that just made you want to have a drink.
Old Pensacola, woo!
Heading down Highway 10, going west, out of Florida, will take you into Alabama. And the first thing I think when I think Alabama is, of course, the song Sweet Home Alabama. Ironically, the sign going into Alabama says exactly that. Our accommodation for the night was yet another harvest host. We were able to park the van out the front of the startling little museum, and our cost for the night was simply the entry to get in and maybe a contribution to support their cause. We really liked some of these museums because they gave us a pretty good insight into the local history of the area and an understanding on the bigger space around America. In this case, there was quite a strong German influence into Baldwin. There was also a pretty clear picture on how the whole area had first been populated, all the way through from the Hispanics to the French, and then eventually the English, and of course what became the Americans. Continuing up the highway, of course, eventually you hit Mississippi. Mississippi. Mississippi for me was a name that I was pretty familiar with not for any other reason than you learned about it at school. There was Mark Twain novels and all sorts of stories about the Mississippi River. There was also stories around the line between where Jim Beam was brewed or distilled and where Jack Daniels was distilled, and that being the Mississippi River. I'm still not totally clear that there's any reality to that story, but it was certainly a good one. Harvest hosts are a means of accommodation, but they are also a way of getting to somewhere that you never ever expect to go, because that's where you're going to stay for the night, so naturally that's where you would head, not always on a main road. This one introduced us to a couple of things we'd never seen before. Not a place that you would want to be doing the dusting and cleaning, but we can promise you it's certainly a place you would like to go and have something to eat, and maybe a drink or two. Initially, when we saw this one, it occurred to us that it could be a little bit dangerous. As it turned out, she was simply tuning her wood saw. And who would have thought that a wood saw could have sounded so damn good?